Hi everyone, welcome to my kitchen. In today's recipe, I'm excited to show you one of the most traditional recipes of South India, which is the Mysore Pak. It is a very simple recipe, although perceived to be complex, but has a few techniques that you need to follow very strictly and measurements as well. And has some basic ingredients from gram flour, which is a basin, and some sugar, ghee and water and nothing else. So without wasting any time, I'm going to walk you through the step-by-step method of how to make a Mysore Pak, and you can make it like a pro too, just like all the sweet shops. So let's just get started. So to begin making the Mysore Pak, ensure you keep all your ingredients ready. The kadai in which you're going to be making the Mysore Pak, and also the pan in which you're going to be setting the Mysore Pak in, okay? And I've already greased my pan with some ghee and kept it aside, and this is extremely important. This is the first thing that you need to do before you start making the Mysore Pak. Ensure that the pan in which you're going to be making the Mysore Pak is ready. And also it's about 2 inches in height, okay? A little more than 2 inches, so that I'm not going to be filling it up to the brim. So a little bit, this is about 2.5 inches in height. Ensure that it is about 2 inches in height, the pan which you're setting it in. And for the measurement that I'm going to be making today, it exactly fits into this. It's about 10 by 6, outer edge 10 inches by 6 inches is the measurement of the outer edge, and about let me say about 9 by 5 is about the measurement of the inner edge, okay? So that's the measurement size you need for the quantity I'm going to be making today. It makes about 12 pieces, large size, rectangular size pieces. So this is ready and set. Next is the pan that you're going to be making the Mysore Pak in. This is a hard anodized pan, or you can use that. It doesn't stick too much, but you can also use a non-stick pan as well. Avoid using stainless steel, or if it's a greased cast iron, you can still use it, but I would avoid it. So a hard anodized or even a non-stick pan would work, okay? So the next is all the ingredients. So I've measured my basin, which is 1 cup of gram flour, which is basin or kadla maave, okay, and sugar 1.25 cups. I like to use less sugar. Some people use 2 cups of sugar, but it becomes too sweet. 1.25 cups is a perfect sweetness for you to actually relish the sweet, okay? And in my opinion, it is not too sweet, it's just got the right balance. And I've got 1 cup of water to make the pag, which is essentially the stringy consistency of sugar, which is called the pag, okay? And ghee, of course, which is again 1.25 cups, 1.25 to 1.5, but I've measured 1.25 and it's good enough. And I'm going to show you, we're not going to be adding all the ghee in one shot, it's going to be added in stages. So now let's just get started to making our Mysore Pak. So the first thing I'm going to do is to roast the gram flour in the pan, okay? And I'm just going to go ahead and roast the gram flour for about 3 to 4 minutes, not too long. You don't want to brown the gram flour and make it dark brown. Ensure that it doesn't burn. Do it on low to medium heat is a good heat, and roast it for about 3 to 4 minutes until the raw smell goes away. You don't have to change the color of the gram flour, nothing. Just roast it so that the raw smell goes away, okay? So we'll just roast it for 3 to 4 minutes, and once the gram flour is roasted, I'll take you through the process of making the sugar syrup. And after that, we will be getting to make our Mysore Pak really quickly, and the rest of the steps are extremely critical. So let's just roast the gram flour until it's for about 3 to 4 minutes, until you can smell a roasted aroma and not brown it too much, okay? Okay, so the gram flour has been roasting, and I can see the roasted aroma coming through, and it's turning lightly golden. It's changing its color. At this stage, I'm going to turn off the heat and transfer it back to its bowl. Keep it aside, and then now my next step is to make the sugar syrup. Okay, and let's just get started with that. So now I'm going to add in the sugar into my pan, and also the water, and I'm going to turn on the heat and then keep stirring the sugar until it forms like a 1-string consistency, okay? So ensure that you keep stirring the sugar in the water until it dissolves completely. Keep the heat on medium to begin with. Okay, and then after that, once the sugar dissolves completely, we can turn the heat to high and then bring the sugar water to a brisk boil to reach it to a one string consistency. And that stage is extremely critical, because if we take it to more than one string consistency, then the sugar will caramelize and your Mysore Pak will turn to be brittle and not soft. So one string is exactly what we need, and I'm going to walk you through that. So let's first dissolve our sugar in the water completely and then bring it to a boil. Okay, so notice that the sugar is completely dissolved in the water. At this stage, increase your heat and allow the sugar to come to a brisk boil, and after about a minute or so you will start seeing bubbles and a frothy consistency of the sugar. Don't let it froth too much, because then it'll go into the second stage of the two string consistency of the sugar, and we don't want that, right? So we just want one string consistency. So let's just wait for our sugar to boil and allow it to come to a brisk boil. And after that, I'm going to show you what a one string consistency is. So it will take about 2 to 3 minutes, at the most 4, to make a one string consistency sugar. It will not take time for this quantity of sugar, right? We just used about 1 cup of sugar, and it will just take that much amount of 1 1/4 cup of sugar. So it'll just take that much amount of time to make the one string consistency. Notice this is coming to a boil, so allow it to boil and ensure that you keep stirring it so that the sugar doesn't sort of settle at the bottom and caramelize. So keep giving it a stir. Okay, notice that the sugar is frothing up more than usual. At this stage, I'm going to pause the heat. Okay, and notice that there's a thick sugar syrup which is falling, and it'll be really thick, it's not liquidy, and the last few strands is going to be falling like a string. It'll stretch itself to the maximum, and that's when you know that it's one string consistency. Another tip is to actually touch it between your fingers, and it should feel very sticky, and if it is sticky and you feel a few strings coming between your fingers, and that's when you know it's done. Okay, at this stage I'm just going to go ahead and add in my gram flour. Okay, and I'm going to add all of it, and you have to keep stirring it until there are no lumps, and this has to be a very quick process. Ensure that you don't stop stirring, and if it lumps form, keep mashing the lumps. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and add in my gram flour. Keep stirring it until there are no lumps. Turn the heat to low and keep stirring it. Don't keep it on high. From this stage onwards, the heat has to be in completely low. Okay, and keep stirring it until the gram flour gets well combined into the sugar syrup and there is no lumps. Okay, so there you go. And here you go. So to prevent more lumps, you can also use like a potato masher and then remove all the lumps in the gram flour so that it's not there at all. So this is a good technique to sort of ensure that there are no lumps and the gram flour gets well combined. Okay, so that's what we're doing. So we're just going to mash it up, ensure that there are no lumps. This is good. Okay, so it looks perfect after mashing it along with the potato masher, and this is great and wonderful. And at this stage I'm just going to ensure that keep the heat to low, remove all the excess flour from this, and now is the next critical stage. So now the next is the most critical stage where we're going to be adding ghee a little at a time and then making the Mysore Pak. So let's just get started with that step. Now that this is perfect, I'm going to increase my heat to medium high, so that medium, not high, and then start making the Mysore Pak. Okay, the next step. Great. So now for this Mysore Pak, we keep adding ghee in about 3 to 4 different stages. It's measured ghee and we're going to be adding that. So I'm going to add 2 to 3 tablespoons right now. So we're going to keep stirring this mixture until we get a nice porous consistency of the gram flour. Okay, and you will notice that there are certain eyes, porous consistency it'll have. It'll have certain holes, it'll stretch itself, and that's when we know that the Mysore Pak is done. So just keep stirring it. So notice that all the ghee is getting absorbed into the gram flour, the basin or the kadlama. Great. So this looks perfect. At this stage you have to keep stirring it, and as you're stirring you need to keep adding the ghee. Okay, and ensure that you add little at a time. So we're just going to keep adding the ghee and keep stirring it and keep adding it. Okay, now let it absorb itself, and then we'll add more ghee a little later. And we'll get to a consistency where we see that the basin splits itself up and becomes very porous, and we're going to keep doing that. Ensure that you keep stirring. You have to keep stirring, and this step is something that you cannot skip at all. Okay, the ghee is getting absorbed. I can see a little bit of porousness inside. Can you see that? Can you see that? A little bit of the porousness that is coming up, wherein the ghee is bubbling and then splitting the basin. Right, so there you go. So I'm just going to go ahead and add more ghee. Keep stirring, and all the ghee will keep getting absorbed, okay? So after you add the ghee, the heat should be on medium high so that it starts absorbing itself and getting cooked, and you need to ensure that you keep stirring it as well. And I'm getting a great consistency. Notice the eyes that are coming. So these are called the eyes of the Mysore Pak, as I call it. So there you go. And it's perfect. Keep stirring it. And we're only going to be adding ghee. A lot of people add ghee plus oil, but I'm just going to be adding ghee because ghee is the only thing that makes the sweet come to life. Okay, and there you go, and keep adding more ghee. That's perfect. Just follow my tips of continuous stirring, okay, and ensure that you keep stirring it. Notice, can you see those eye pockets? Can you see that? So this is the consistency that we want. Medium heat, please, not high heat. Medium heat, not low heat. So the heat is extremely critical. And I'm just going to go ahead and add the last ghee. Okay, and just keep stirring it. It's almost done. This is the last leg of the Mysore Pak because I've got the exact eye pockets that I want. Just keep stirring it. And the moment you notice that there is extra ghee and it's all coming away from the sides of the pan, then you know that the Mysore Pak is done. This is actually done. So I'm just going to quickly keep stirring it. There you go. It's all moving away from the sides of the pan. See that? Do you see that? The porousness in the Mysore Pak, when I just move it around, this is exactly that you want, and it's all coming away from the sides of the pan, just like that. And this is just perfect. And now at this stage, I'm just going to go ahead and turn off the heat. Just going to give it one last mix. Okay, and this last mix, don't overdo it. As soon as this is calm and as soon as you see that it's coming away from the sides of the pan, turn off the heat. Off. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and keep this to the side and then bring the bowl in which we're going to set it in. Okay, and there you go. It's hot. Ensure that you do it quickly, and after this we're done. Jiggle the bowl, okay, so that it sort of sets itself well. There you go. Okay, now the next step is to make the top smooth. And for that, take a ladle, dip it in ghee, and then spread. Tap, tap, tap the top, tap the top. Okay, and okay, it looks good. And then smoothen it. Okay, so if you required, just dip the ladle in a little more ghee and then smoothen it, but it's not required. The Mysore Pak is warm and then it's releasing all that ghee from the inside, and it's just perfect. Okay, this is good. So while the Mysore Pak is now warm, I'm going to cut it, and so that once it sets itself, we'll be able to take out the pieces. Okay, this is great. So now I'm going to allow the Mysore Pak to rest for about at least 2 hours until it cools down completely. And after about 2 hours, you'll be able to just lift the pieces up, and then your Mysore Pak will be ready. So I hope you enjoyed watching this recipe of how to make the Mysore Pak. Do give it a try. All it takes is about 20 minutes of undivided attention. So do give this recipe a try, and when you do, don't forget to share your feedback in the comments below, because I'll always be looking to hear back from you. And when you do make it, take a snapshot of it and tag us across all your social channels, because I'd love to hear from you. So until then, until next time, happy cooking and healthy eating.